the situation with COVID is, on the ground, not very dramatic. I mean, you wander around and people are just living their lives and going about as normal. And then you look at like the government's narrative and the media narrative, and you would think that the Black Death is currently ravaging the country. And so, of course, we have a list of countries that you can't travel to, unless, of course, you're part of the privileged elite, and which you can, because if you do travel to them, if they're a red list country, then you have to quarantine for 10 days, according to the British government. You can't even come to the UK if you live in one of these countries, unless you're a British national, an Irish national, for some reason, or anyone with residence rights in the UK. Everyone allowed to enter England who has been in a red list country in the last 10 days before they arrive must quarantine for a full 10 days in a managed quarantine hotel. And take coronavirus test and follow the national restrictions. And if you don't do this, then you can get fined £10,000 or you can be imprisoned for up to 10 years. Bit draconian. Just a little bit draconian.
I like how the fine is only 10 grand, but the prison sentence is 10 years.
Yeah, as if people only earn £1,000 a year or something. This would be reasonable compensation. But yes, we're waiting for our Solon because Draco has taken over. No one's going to get that reference, but if you do, leave me a comment because then I'll be very pleased with you and I'll like it. Anyway, so this means that you get to go to one of the quote COVID camps that we've set up in our hotels, and they're not very good, if you can believe it. Something provided by the government as mandatory is crap. What a shock, right? So
Don't you have to pay for it as well?
Yes, you do. It's not even at the government expense, actually. It's at your own expense. That's a great point. I forgot about that. So anyway, this is one example of how one quarantining family stayed at a hotel and called it, quote, the worst ever experience after the mother and baby were left needing hospital treatment because of food poisoning. So this, I can't pronounce these people's names, I'm sorry. They were both treated in the hospital because of food poisoning. The illnesses came from the things they'd eaten. And she ended up on a drip because she was dehydrated, apparently. The hotel refused to acknowledge it and refused to apologise. And she says the worst experience she's ever had. That's nice. So, moving on, can ill people get help? Well, not universally. There was one woman who, and this is a tragic story, by the way, right? So just listen to this from the BBC. Afsa Khan, 17, arrived at the Heathrow Holiday Inn on the 12th of April with her parents and 5 younger siblings after a trip to Pakistan to visit her grandmother. As someone with brittle or unstable asthma, which can quickly become life-threatening, she often needs medical treatment at home in Bradford. And she went in there was one bed, there was a sofa for her and a mum and 3 sisters and 1 brother. And I was thinking it's going to be 11 days. How am I going to survive this? And
hang on, what? How many people is that? In a 1-bedroom hotel?
Yeah, it's like 5 people in a 1 bed. Yes.
But we've got hotels galore for people who just want to cross the channel.
We'll get to that, don't spoil that. Anyway, so she called it the most traumatic thing ever, and that's remarkable considering she's just come back from Pakistan, and never wants to stay in a hotel again, which I don't blame her for. But there was an even worse example of this, and this woman basically had an asthma attack and was only able to get any treatment, and this was, needless to say, quite concerning. I mean, at one point her lips were blue, she couldn't breathe, and they were like, nope, you can't leave. You're quarantining.
In the name of public health.
In the name of public health. And they were just like, if she dies, she dies. Presumably it's run by a Russian boxer. Anyway, but this is by far the worst thing that's happened, because the next one was even worse. One woman called Amna Bibi, who was 34 weeks pregnant when she arrived at a hotel from Pakistan with her family, was prevented from attending a hospital for a vital ultrasound scan and ended up having a miscarriage because she wasn't allowed to go and get treatment. Is it worth it? Is this worth it? Is this the kind of country we want to be? Is this how we envisaged modern Britain being? Locking mothers who are heavily pregnant mothers in hotels because they might be carrying a disease while their babies die?
You would have thought there'd be exemptions for things like this.
Well, apparently there are exemptions, but they didn't care. Legally speaking, there are exemptions, but whether these translate into actual things happening on the ground, well, that's another question, isn't it?
And the staff just uninformed, or
who knows? I mean, I'm going to guess yes, just on the basis of government. Well, maybe
they're just told red list, red list.
Yeah, undoubtedly. But just following orders, because that's a defence that holds up in an international criminal court. It doesn't. Anyway, so yes, she'd been to Pakistan to visit family members, obviously. And she normally attended checkups at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Woolwich, but she wasn't allowed to leave the hotel for a third time to go back for a vital scan. And then she was rushed in for an emergency cesarean, and her baby was stillborn, and she had to spend 4 days in intensive care after the surgery. Possibly could have been prevented had she actually been allowed to attend the hospital. And she says, I feel this shouldn't really happen. I have no word to describe this. Well, I don't think it should happen. But at least the hotels are nice, aren't they? Aren't they? Of course they're not nice. For some reason, the hotels are gross. So the one man from York found that he was forced to stay in a rat-infested hotel. Cost him £1,750 to stay there for 10 days. Which is nice. Thanks, government.
I presume there's no refunds either.
No, of course there's no bloody
Because usually with a
refunds.
hotel room, at least if it's terrible, you can just be like, well, give me my money back. But in this case, get stuffed.
Yes, no, that's exactly it, right? So yes, he didn't get a refund from this, as I understand it, but he had flown from Rio de Janeiro and was doing his 10-day quarantine in a West London hotel. And he was just laying in his room, and a rat climbed out of a pipe system. And this had been happening the whole time, he thinks. And so they moved him to another room just down the corridor, and they're still coming out of holes in the wall where the pipes are. He's in a third room now in his hotel.
There's never just one rat.
No, exactly. So, rat infested. The next one is, well, good luck if you're a woman, because apparently women in quarantine hotels are receiving a harassment reporting hotline because they're being harassed by the guards. There are guards at these. It's really weird, isn't it? Why do I guess they've got to stop the prisoners from escaping the camp. And so they're guards. And so this has led to them saying, well, can we get female guards for the female guests? Because the male guards are apparently harassing them. There's next one, if we go to the BBC reporting on this, this keeps happening, apparently. They say, another woman has been sexually harassed in a quarantine hotel despite new rules designed to prevent it. This one woman, Lorna Farmer, walked out of the Hilton Garden Inn in Birmingham Airport a week ago, and a guard offered to entertain her in her room.
What?
Yeah, mate, she's probably infected with something. You sure that's a wise thing? Or are you not taking the COVID restrictions seriously either? The Department of Health and Social Care says it will introduce a new phone line for women to report harassment confidentially. Ah, yes. Solving all of the problems here, aren't we? COVID, done. Sexual harassment, solved. 18 women have apparently reported sexual harassment to the BBC, 2 of them since they took these steps. She says that she began receiving unwanted attention from a security guard employed by the company. There are a bunch of private companies that this has been outsourced to, basically, by the government.
It's G4S, got that every time.
Yes. One asked to see her in her pyjamas and asked to enter her room, says knocking repeatedly on the door and sometimes sitting on the floor outside of it. Do they not understand how a quarantine is supposed to work, or do they just not care? Another woman who's still in quarantine says that male security guard knocked on her door twice one evening, giving a transparently bogus reason for wanting to talk to her. She didn't like that, obviously. And Miss Farmer said that when she went outside for exercise at the Hilton Garden Inn, she was escorted by a single male guard, despite the DHCS's intention that lone female guests should get female guards. Well, it's all nice.
It's
all
just
terrible.
really creepy.
Yeah. But A, why are they doing this to women? But B, why are they doing this to anyone? Because at the end of the day, they're treating people who they are worried about being infected with COVID as if they're criminals. This is the sort of way that people are treated in prisons.
It is strange that you have to be escorted to the outside.
Yes.
Surely you would just have the guards on like the outside of the hotel, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do you need to go from room to room with them?
But why, I mean... Just,
like, even if you were to set this up as essentially a prison.
Yes, which it is.
Yeah.
Literal COVID prisons now, with guards that escort you around, just in case you break quarantine. Pretty awful, and it is not going to age well, in my opinion. But on the plus side, the illegal immigrants aren't getting treated this way. They don't even have to pay for their own hotels. And then you remember, I'm sure, a few months back when Nigel Farage was like, hang on a second.
No COVID in France.
Yeah, there's no COVID in France, and these illegal immigrants are being put in 4-star hotels. Lucky for them. Not at their own expense either, unlike the British public, who are having to pay for this themselves. This was such a wild story that Nigel Farage had put out that Reuters were like, oh, we better fact check this, and they were like, oh, that's true. Can go to the next one, John. They say, unlike illegal immigrants, yes. They had to fact check this and go, oh, the UK is not housing 48,000 illegal immigrants in hotels each night. So do you know why that's not true, Callum?
What?
Take a guess. Take a guess why that sentence isn't
Why
true.
not housing 48 each night?
Do you think it's the number?
I don't know.
Come on, you can do it.
Is it going to be that some of them are in the barracks and therefore it's not hotels or some shit?
Nope. Nice try, though. No. We're not housing 48,000 legal immigrants. We're housing 48,000 asylum seekers.
I didn't expect it to be that bad.
Not even joking. Right. Unlike illegal immigrants, those who are not lawfully allowed in the country, asylum seekers are entitled to housing while their asylum applications are being processed. So according to the National Audit Office, 48,000 asylum seekers under new accommodation contracts as of March 2020.
Asylum
There we
from
go.
what? Asylum from Paris. Is that
To
what
be
they're
fair,
saying?
asylum from France probably might be valid.
It's not as valid as from Syria, let's say. Like Bashar al-Assad and Macron may have some similarities, but not enough for this to be the case.
Yes. So, So the UK Home Office confirmed to Reuters by phone that the 48,000 statistic does not refer to the number of asylum seekers in hotels at any one time, but to those housed across a range of accommodation.
So how many illegal migrants are there as well? Because if we're not including them in the 48,000 statistic, how many illegals?
No, they are the illegals.
But that's the thing. Are they then just saying there are 0 illegal migrants in all the UK?
Yes, because they've all applied for asylum. Therefore, none of them are illegal immigrants now.
100%.
100%, yeah.
Right.
And the Sun has discovered that 90 hotels are being used. So we're paying for all of this, remember. The accommodation, which includes 4 high-end, 4-star rated hotels, is part of a £4 billion 10-year contract between the Home Office and 3 outsourcing giants, Mears, Clearspring and Serco. Deborah Chittenden, the Director of Borders, Immigration and Citizenship System for the Home Office, told the meeting that 90 hotels are being used. She said, "We've had significant numbers of people in hotels at the moment. They are not great value for the taxpayer. However, we have to use them because they are available accommodation."
What? You can't find any cheaper hotels?
We for some reason can't just plonk these people back in France where they came from,
Which is the natural solution.
or deport them back to their home countries where they actually came from,
Or send them to Rwanda for processing.
or send them to Rwanda for processing, which is what we should be doing.
Which apparently passed, so I don't know what's holding them up on that.
Oh, great. Well, fast track that. Come on. Because this is costing us billions of pounds, literally billions of pounds to house a bunch of illegal immigrants. And the government minister themselves say, yes, they're not great value for the taxpayer. Thanks. And apparently they're not even quarantining. So you, coming back from a random country, have got to pay for your own quarantine in a rat-infested hotel where the guards are going to fiddle you. But the immigrants, the illegal migrants, the asylum seekers, are being given 4-star hotels paid for by the taxpayer that they don't have to quarantine in.
No
Enjoy
guards,
this.
Free breakfast.
Although there are guards, the security guards just aren't really doing their
just don't
jobs,
care.
right? No. So ministers have been urged to investigate allegations that channel migrants from France are escaping quarantine, even though returning holidaymakers have to isolate, right? The migrants themselves told the Telegraph that they have been allowed to leave their hotels and could go shopping while they were supposed to be confined to quarantine in their rooms. Security guards posted outside the hotels to supervise migrants' movements in and out of the buildings admitted they were unable to police quarantine because they did not know who was self-isolating and who was not. The number of people testing positive for COVID-19 on arrival has ranged between 5 and 1%, which is still 4 to 20 times the UK average, according to the Border Force sources.
Right, so this is a heavy source of COVID infection.
Yes.
Not to mention foreign variants because it's coming from France.
Not to mention every single one of these is breaking the law.
Mm.
So a bunch of criminals invade Britain, get put up at our expense, don't have to follow the rules that everyone else has to follow. If you, a lawful citizen, come back from holiday, you get quarantined, it costs you money, and you get all of the problems that go along with it. Isn't that amazing? I hate this country sometimes. I really hate this country.
The thing is, like in my mind, I'm pretty sure France is still on the amber list as well. So even if you are coming from there, you still have to self-isolate. You just have to do it in your own home. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't even apply here.
No. Don't have to do a damn thing.
Not even the bare minimum.
Also, we're going to give them money. Do you know how much money we're giving them?
Probably billions at this point.
Yeah, it is. £35. Well, it's every week. It's £35 per, £36 rounding up, per immigrant per week, which means it's nearly £2 million a week.
And that's just the free money. That's
just money we give them.
The free dental, the free healthcare,
no,
free
it's
housing.
Not about the
The costs for the border security, the costs for the guards.
Oh, you arrived in Britain. Have some spending money. Don't know why, but I know why they're coming. That. Free money. So there we go.
To Rwanda, seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know what else they're going to do.
No, I can't wait until Rwanda is where we process these people.
So us and Denmark. The new oldest alliance.
I'm sure the Portuguese would have done that had they needed to. The Portuguese solution was just more sensible, really.
Yeah, just give them nothing.
Take the German money and tell them to piss off.
To us, I don't know why, we could just start doing that.
Yeah.
Just we'll give you nothing. And then if you arrive over the border, it's okay. Also, France, send more. Because they'll just be fleeing back.
We will take German money and give you nothing in return. This is a great deal. What do you want? If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.